Yeah, I think the problem here, Dr. Wiesner, is that a lot of our politicians, unfortunately, aren't very educated. I hate to make that accusation, but we've seen this play out over and over again. In fact, one of the jokes during this last presidential election was that John McCain didn't even know how to work a computer. So these aren't people, and a lot of them are, as we call them here, Kool-Aid drinkers. They're just not people who really think about things very deeply. They merely try to gather enough money to buy elections, and they really go kind of with the status quo. If they do not go with the status quo, and maybe it's the same in your country, they don't get very far as a politician. So here we just have this running ditch, I'll call it here, of just bad behavior of people who don't understand what is really going on in the world and in the world of voting. Doctor, I'd like to ask a question, because we were tracking the recent referendum election in Ireland regarding the Lisbon Treaty. I know that Germany is a member state of the European Union. Is there any threat to your constitution and a threat specifically to this ruling maybe being superseded by Brussels and the European Union?
No, I think in the moment it's not. There is the Lisbon Treaty basically makes the European states working closer together, and the European community has a lot of authorities in a number of areas, but elections and the control of the people, that is still very regulated in the different countries, and I don't think that's going to change in the near future. But when you refer to Ireland, it's actually might be interesting that Ireland, the Irish government a couple of years ago bought the same e-voting equipment that we were using in Germany here for the entire country, so for 100% of the population, and in the end they never used it. And the reason why they did never use it was because of the transparency issues. There was quite an uprise when they initially bought these machines, and they had a strong public discussion, and the government then had to implement an independent committee which looked into the technology used and which looked into the political and transparency issues, and in the end came to the conclusion that it was better not to use these machines any further. And also the Netherlands, they had been using these machines for more than 15 years, and they had almost 100% penetration of these machines into the polling places. It's actually a Dutch vendor that served Germany, the Netherlands, and Ireland. And there was a group of hackers in the Netherlands which then in 2006 demonstrated in the TV how to manipulate these machines, which then subsequently caused the machines not longer to be used in the Netherlands as well.
That would be the main Chaos
reason
Computer Club. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yeah, it's the Chaos Computer Club, together with an organization called We Don't Trust Voting Machines. And but in the end, the government decision to not longer use e-voting equipment in the Netherlands was not based on the technical issues. It was mainly driven by the transparency issues.
And citizen support for that, right? I mean, you had to have a lot of citizens demanding the government.
Yes. So both in Ireland and in the Netherlands, in the end, campaigns were successful, which didn't use legal action, but which used media campaigns, and certainly this spectacular hack that helped a lot to convince the public that the use of such machines is not appropriate.
We did that here too, Dr. Wiesner, and while it did have an impact, it did not cause our government to pause and think maybe we should revisit this and have a debate on this. In fact, it was glossed over. They just kind of dismissed it.
Well, I think that what he's saying is very interesting, though. My instincts are along the same lines, that we haven't hit critical mass with the citizenry yet.
No.
We need to, it's going to be challenging because we have a pretty consolidated media that's difficult to penetrate because it does take a lot of influence from the vendors. But I think we really need to focus on getting the word out to the public, and also we have to educate the public, because they're being so distracted by these the cryptography concept and by the audit after the fact concept. In fact, one of the things in the German decision, I'd like to hear more from Dr. Wiesner. Here they say, well, if we can spot check, 3% of the ballots after the fact, then that will be all right. And I noticed that in the German decision they said that will not suffice, these after-the-fact audits. Is that right?
Are you suggesting that it might be appropriate to just validate a sample, a 3% sample?
I'm saying it would not be, but here in the United States there's a very strong contingent of people who say that if they validate it with a spot check after the fact, it's all right. So our challenge is not just to get the transparency, but to address these distractions and side issues that are put out to the public. They'll say, yes, I noticed in the German decision it did say something about, no after-the-fact process can substitute for the actual counting, I believe.
No, the entire process needs to be auditable, and it needs to be auditable in full. So it's not sufficient that after the fact, in case of doubt, a small sample is audited. And that would not be in line with the decision. It's basically not fulfilling the court's requirement that everybody needs to be able to understand every single step of the election in detail.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. This decision that you obtained in Germany has so many parts to it that are very important. It has the after the fact won't suffice, and you can't turn it over to experts, and it needs to be public. It addresses so much of what we've been fighting here in the U.S. I really think it's going to be useful to us.
Well, the proprietary secret laws must be subservient to the public nature of the elections, because that was cutting the citizens totally out, even the scientists, from being able to view the software, which was, to me, a bogus, complication put there deliberately. But ultimately, it comes down to the 100%. To prevent this from getting, like the 3% count in Ohio, Bev, we tried that already. It didn't work.